Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for 6 things that we learned from Chelsea 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0. A Premier League top of the table clash where Chelsea could have won, we would have gone top of the table, but instead we sit here this evening on Sunday. It's pretty late at night right now here, it's hence why these eyes are super tired. Spurs are top of the league. Chelsea again today. Not only do we keep another clean sheet, but there were many signs today that both of these two teams will in fact be involved in the Premier League title race this season. It was a cagey game where I feel as though both teams were reluctant to take risks. I feel as though throughout the entire first half, it seemed as though there wasn't a single player on the pitch who really wanted to try and take somebody on or try and beat the last man. I thought Tammy Abraham was probably the best that Chelsea had in order to do that in the first half. The second half was very much more Chelsea's game. Spurs kind of sat back even more. Don't even know how that was possible. I think if they did sit back anymore, they would have ended up in the stands. But that is an argument for another day. Before we get into the green boxes or yellow boxes today, there's a couple of both. I would love to ask for you guys to subscribe to GBFC. We're absolutely killing it at the moment here. You guys have been showing loads of love and support. I dyed my hair blue, especially for this game and for all the matches you've got coming up here in December. And it's a frustrating one, this one, because I feel as though if we bring it back to the risk that we just spoke about, which was something that clearly didn't happen in terms of teams taking the risk within this game for both Chelsea and Spurs, we could have won this one. But it is what it is. It's a point against a very good opposition. Typical Mourinho, it was a defensive masterclass in a way from Spurs, but you could also say, apart from one moment of stupidity from Zuma at the end, it was also a defensive masterclass from Chelsea. So without any further ado, we're going to kick things off today with a green box for Mr. Thiago Silva. I feel as though the way that we now are structured defensively, I've said this many times this season, a lot of it is down to the experience and the know-how that Thiago Silva has. I was impressed that even though the majority of the passes that Thiago Silva played today went towards Zuma, I was impressed of how he actually composes himself when he's on the ball. He's always looking to try and split the midfield by putting a pass through to either the striker, the fullback who's made a run forward. It was difficult today because Spurs quite often had 8 or 9 men behind the ball towards their own box. So it was hard for Chelsea to really pin those kind of passes in and around between the lines. So Thiago Silva, I thought, did that very well. I like the way that he linked up with Mason Mount. You see Mason Mount drops deep. It's kind of like, even though Kante is the holding midfielder, because Kante's playing the most central, Kante goes a little bit further forward, Mason drops deeper, he receives the ball from Thiago Silva, and there's a good connection that I'm seeing build between those two players. Both Silva and Mount played very well together, and I thought that, Chelsea did keep a clean sheet. We didn't have to really do that much defending, but I think positionally, the way that Silva was placed on the pitch, I thought it made sure that Spurs didn't really get that many chances to counter-attack. There were a couple of moments where Thiago Silva's not really reaching the second or third gear, and it looked as though he might have just lost the ball at the last second, but he's got that experience, he's been in the game for so long, and there wasn't any mistakes from him today. Now, box number 2, I've given a green box again to Mason Mount. I mentioned the connection that he has with Thiago Silva and the way that those two like to pass the ball around within one another. Mason was also one of the only players today who, well, he had a shot on target in the second half, which for a 6 things we learned video, when there's no goals, sometimes it's very difficult to analyse things. When there isn't that many clear-cut, if any clear-cut chances in the game, what Mason Mount did when he unleashed that shot, which I actually feel as though the commentary didn't give Reece the kind of credit that he deserved. It was a very good effort from Mason Mount. He hit it super hard, and Reece did manage to get down very well and turn it round for a Chelsea corner. It needed somebody to do something like that in order to open this game up. I feel as though we didn't get enough shots underway. When we did, we kind of had snapshots. We had the Timo Werner offside goal that was very marginal, but there's really no arguments we could have about that. It was offside, it was given offside. Other than that, there wasn't really many clear-cut chances in the game. So I was impressed again, as I always am, with Mason Mount's energy. I feel as though he's very smart when Chelsea have the ball in terms of the space that he creates for the rest of his teammates by dropping a bit deeper, coming to collect the ball. You can see he's always looking up, trying to find those passes in over the top, and I thought it was a good performance from Mount today. And even though we didn't win the game, I think that we can see, even though the average age of this Chelsea team is very young, these young players playing up against a very strong opposition. Spurs are a very physical team. I thought that Ndombele was actually probably one of the best players on the pitch, and then Mourinho bought him off with 25 minutes to go. But seeing Mount match up against players like Sissoko, very physical players, he holds his own very well. He's got that tenacity, got himself booked as well. But it was an impressive performance from Mason Mount, and we move into box number 3, and it's a yellow today for Hakim Ziyech. It's one of those where I was impressed with the amount of times he got onto the ball, but the delivery, which we know is one of Ziyech's best parts of his game, it wasn't there today. And you can see that when Lampard bought him off, Ziyech was disappointed with himself. He knows that he's got so much more to offer, and that final ball that is often so brilliant, and we've seen it in the early stages of his Chelsea career, it wasn't quite there today. And I also feel as though physically, Ziyech maybe did look as though he was getting bullied a little bit more by some of the Spurs players in comparison to some of the other Chelsea players who I thought did very well physically today against a very strong Spurs team. Tackles were going in, players were barging up against one another. And I feel as though Ziyech has that ability to change the game with a moment of brilliance, with a kind of cross or a kind of pass, but it wasn't there today. So I feel as though if Ziyech was more on his game, Chelsea would have actually won. And we move into box number 4, and particularly in the stages early on in the second half, we saw some absolutely exceptional deliveries again from Reece James. When the man crosses the ball, even if he's off balance, he looks as though it's always a perfect cross. And I mean, I don't want to say that if Olivier Giroud would have started the game, because you guys saw the preview, I predicted the lineup. It was exactly what I thought Frank was going to do. Frank did it. Even with the substitutions, it wouldn't have been fair to bring Tammy Abraham off any earlier than we did. I think he was one of those players who did try and get him behind in the first half. There's very little really for me to analyse in this game. It was a very tentative affair, but Reece James's crossing were the best opportunities that Chelsea created. Tammy kind of got his head on it, but the ball came in with so much pace in such a perfect area up against a very strong centre-half. I think that both of Tottenham's centre-halves today were brilliant, apart from that one moment where Giroud could have clipped it over the top of Hugo Lloris. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, means I'm out of time. I think that's how the lyrics go in the song. Olivier Giroud didn't finish it, but Reece James again, even like in terms of the strength, when that cross came in and he kind of just hooks it over the top, and the commentary was saying, we could have expected Harry Kane to outmuscle Reece James. Harry Kane is a wonderful striker, maybe the best in the world, but no one's outmuscling Reece James. It's kind of a foolish thing to say. Reece was brilliant again today, going forward excellent, defensively looking stronger, game by game as well, alongside a very, very solid Chelsea back line. Edouard Mendy, I want to mention him. I'm not giving him any box today because he didn't really have any saves to make. But the saves he did make, they were very good again. It was a very smart move to actually come out and claw the ball out when Spurs put in one of a very rare cross in the second half. Mendy was good. Reece James was brilliant for me. We move into box number 5, and I thought that probably Chelsea's best player today was Mateo Kovacic. We always know that one of Kovacic's best attributes as a midfielder is the way that he gets out of tight spaces. There were many moments today where he did try and drive forward with dribbling. He was caught in between a few Spurs players who were pressing him very well, very tight. But Kovacic worked his way out of those tight spaces very, very well. And there was a moment where he gave the ball away in the second half, but other than maybe one or two times, I feel as though it was a very solid midfield performance today from Mateo Kovacic. You see Kai Havertz coming off the bench towards the latter stages of the game. He came on for Hakim Ziyech in more of an attacking role, and I think it shows the confidence that Frank Lampard has, despite obviously Havertz now being back ready and fit. It shows the confidence that both Mason Mount, Kante and Kovacic all lasted the full 90 minutes. I thought Kovacic's energy was absolutely excellent. He defended very well. He was in the right places at the right time. Nice little intricate passing and good footwork on the edges of Chelsea's defensive area as well. That is the end of the green boxes today. And I kind of feel as though this has been one of the hardest 6 things we learnt videos that I've ever had to do, because there really wasn't that many talking points from the game. It was an incredibly tight tactical battle where Jose Mourinho came knowing that Chelsea were going to be dangerous going forward in terms of the danger men, Apart from Werner's offside goal, Werner didn't really look that sharp again. I think it is a bit of a worry at the moment. Hakim Ziyech crossing, it wasn't up to the standard that we know he's capable of. Mourinho clearly came with a game plan, and I think for him, he'll probably be the happier of the two managers. I think that the way that the second half was balanced, Chelsea were obviously the team that were attacking. Chelsea were the team that looked as though we were going to score if anyone was going to score in this game, particularly that Giroud chance in the 92nd minute. Tammy had opportunities as well, but couldn't get on the end of things. And I think that I want to put a yellow box for risk in the first half. It was very difficult because sometimes you can take the risk and try and take a player on. Either the Spurs right back or left back could have won the ball back, and next thing you know, you've got Harry Kane, Heung-min Son and Bergwijn running at you, which is not a very nice prospect to think about. So I've given it a yellow because even though we didn't take many risks, if any, in the first half, if Chelsea want to win these kind of matches, which would see us be top of the table, I feel as though there were times in that first half where we needed to try and loft a few more balls over the top, or we needed to maybe speed things up a little bit to try and get at Spurs, because positionally they were so comfortable and they were so well organised that it needed a moment of brilliance, and it just didn't really come today from Chelsea. The game finishes 0-0. It's not a bad point. You know, the reason I've got 4 greens, 2 yellows and no reds is because apart from Zuma's mistake, there wasn't really anybody who did that much wrong. Ziyech's delivery wasn't up to the standard we expect from him, but he still got into good positions and tried to put in those balls. If anything, he was the man trying to make the risks. But it finishes Chelsea 0, Tottenham 0. It's been a very difficult one for me to analyse. I would love to know, as always, what the 6 things that you learnt were in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to GBFC so you don't miss a video. We've got Sevilla on Wednesday. Probably going to do another video talking about this game tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've all had a great weekend. I'll see you all next time. Come on, you Blues.